This is episode 2 of the Diet by God's Design podcast. I am so glad you're here. So in the last episode, we covered my story and expectations. This episode, I want to start immediately digging into guidelines that I use often with my clients, but I would say it's the foundation to make any diet successful. So I have these core tenets and core characteristics or mindsets that I recommend anyone to have to make how they diet successful. In today's episode, we're going to be digging into how to be honest with yourself, which each guideline I use, I would say, is absolutely key. This one is, I would say, fundamentally key. So if you can't be honest with yourself, then the next guidelines will be next to impossible. So let's dig into honesty. The reason why I use honesty with my clients as a core mindset or expectation to have with them is because I find in the diet realm, so we say health realm, that if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't really get very far in making changes and good changes towards better health, good health. When it comes down to it, we have believed lies about ourselves or about God. That's really what it comes down to. We've believed lies about ourselves or about God that are getting in the way of doing what's best for our health and our bodies. I believe we all have believed a handful of lies about ourselves and about God when it comes to our health. And you can find these lies by listening to where you find yourself making excuses. Or if you start feeling self-conscious about a subject when you're talking to someone and all of a sudden you feel like you have to justify your position or why you're doing something, or you find yourself talking a lot all of a sudden, or even where you're flat out lying and there's a lot of guilt and shame, is often where you can find a lie that somewhere along the line you have believed that's not necessarily true. Once you find out these lies, it's really good to confront them, to be honest with yourself, be honest with what's going on, confront these lies so that we can move forward. The end goal is to move forward. But to kind of give you an idea of what these lies might look like when it comes to the health realm. I find myself personally with health decisions for my kids, that is what I find myself explaining, feeling like I have to justify. One a little more close to home, I would say, is, and I get this a lot, you eat something dessert-wise, whether it's ice cream or chocolate, and then you have to justify it. You feel like you have to explain why you're doing it, or, well, I ate that because I'm going to go to the gym later and I'm going to work it off. It's this idea of, well, I'm going to eat this thing and I'm going to have to do something afterwards to justify me eating it. And that is a lie. If you start digging into, is it wrong to eat that piece of chocolate? No. Now, I wouldn't say it's not wrong to eat a piece of chocolate. Is it wrong to eat 10 pieces of chocolate? Well, you're probably getting into a place that is not so beneficial for your health, but it's really wrong. When we talk about right and wrong, we really want to get to the motive behind why you did something. I'd say that tells you whether it was right or wrong, but the action itself is not necessarily wrong. Eating a piece of chocolate is not necessarily wrong. And in the end, the thing is, eating that piece of chocolate and you find yourself lying to other people about it, in denial, saying, no, I didn't eat that piece of chocolate, you got to ask yourself, who are you helping? Who are you hurting? I can tell you, the person you're talking to, you're lying to, is not helping or hurting them. It has nothing to do with them. Who it helps or who it hurts is you. And so really letting yourself be real, be honest, dig into those things that you find yourself figuring out excuses for, the ones that you feel like you have to justify, the food choices you make or the health decisions you make that you feel as if you have to justify or explain away or talk a lot about. Those things you feel guilt and shame after. That guilt and shame is to tell you that something's a little off here. Let's dig into what's going on, what you're thinking, what this premise is that you're believing that, for example, chocolate being bad. Why do you think chocolate's bad? Oh, it's because of the sugar in it. Okay, let's dig into that. That's something we can manage. And so once you're honest with yourself, we can move on, which is what is so key with dieting. Where you are right now in regards to your health, you're there. Whether you like it or not, you're there. You're here as you are, which is fantastic. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm supposed to be the diet expert here, and I'm not perfect. I make stupid mistakes all the time, and then I beat myself up over it. We move on and we do better next time. And that's the key, is just focusing on do better next time. Don't get caught up in what you're doing wrong right this moment. Don't get caught up in thinking you have to be perfect. Just come as you are and let's move forward. Let's move past this and move on. I would say that when you are truly honest with yourself, you have aligned your actions to your personal convictions. And that's not to say that your personal convictions are based on facts, on truth, but it's whatever you do feel convicted about. As a Christian, a typical conviction that changes per person is drinking alcohol. Not everyone thinks that drinking alcohol is the right choice for them, and that's okay. That's a personal conviction. Some think it's okay. That's okay. That's a personal conviction. So whatever your personal conviction is, as long as you align your actions to it, that's when we can really be honest with ourselves and we can beat that guilt and that shame. And we'll kind of dig into what do you do when your personal convictions don't match the truth of God, the truth that He has designed us to have. We'll dig into that a little bit in another episode, in a future episode, so keep looking out for that one. I really want to drive this point. The goal here, be honest with yourself so we can move forward. We want to be able to do better, and you won't be able to do that if you're not fundamentally honest with yourself. And when it comes down to it, if you find yourself continue to lie, continue to feel like you have to justify your actions, I think you have to ask yourself these questions. 1, how much worse do you need to feel to start being honest about how bad you feel? We know you feel bad. That's probably why you're here. So how much worse feeling do you have to be with your health? Question number 2, how much worse do you have to get until you're ready to do something about it? Really asking yourself that question and saying, will I have to be in the hospital until I'm ready to do something about this? Do I have to be on 20 medications? Do I have to be in a wheelchair? Do I have to be insert here? Whatever it is, how much worse do things have to get in order for you to be ready to change? So be honest with yourself, because you're not hurting anyone else but yourself. You can't grow if you're not honest. You can't be honest with other people. You can't be honest with your spouse, your friends, your accountability partner, if you cannot be honest with yourself. So it starts with you, and you can do it. I know it. That is the wrap up for, I would say, the guideline for honesty. So now we're going to get into the giveaway reminder. In the last episode, I was talking about 1 hour goals coaching session that I'm giving away this week. In this goals coaching session, we'll have an hour to go over your top health goals and dig into what's blocking you from reaching them. And then we'll come up with an actionable plan to help you actually reach those goals. And just a reminder, you enter this giveaway. So if this sounds like something you would like, you subscribe to this podcast, write a review, and tag a friend in the comments of my Instagram or Facebook podcast launch post, link in the show notes below, who you think would also love this podcast. So just 3 things: subscribe, review, tag a friend. Do this by this coming Friday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, and the winner will be announced on Instagram the following Saturday morning. You must be 18 years or older and live in the U.S. in order to qualify in the giveaway. So that is everything I have for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was thought-provoking. And I would love to hear more about what you think on my social media. You can connect there or in the reviews.